So what you just heard in the beginning is from my Patreon archives. You have a link in the description for that. You have access to hundreds of these licks and lessons for $5 a month. In today's lesson, I want to show you a great way to practice hammer-ons and pull-offs that you might not have done before. In general, when we think of hammer-ons and pull-offs, it's more in the terms of doing these kind of, fast licks when it comes to rock and melody, right? But this is also very useful for just playing melodies. And practicing it in the way that I'm going to show you will also help you improve that aspect of it as well. So if you're interested in that, only stick around anyway and you'll find some good ways to improve that. Because just by practicing it in this phrasing type of way instead, you will really start listening to what you're doing, and you might solve some issues you might already have with your hammer-ons and pull-offs. So we're just going to start here with the minor pentatonic, day 1 position. So we're going to look at hammer-ons first. So basically what you want to do, instead of just going something like that, now instead what we want to do is to really listen to the different effects you get when you apply more or less pressure, if you go faster or slower from this note to the hammer-on. And it's just a way for you to gauge what you need to do to get the sound that you like the most. And it's kind of funny because it's very easy to not do this stuff, because you start reading about a particular technique and then you start practicing it. And I've showed you a lot of legato exercises here on my YouTube channel already, and that's been geared mostly towards that as well, even though I've been quite outspoken about really listening to what you're doing. This is still a more deep type of practice when it comes to listening and really getting into finer details of it, right? And basically what you want to do is just play the A minor pentatonic. It's the first 2 notes here. So I'm just basically playing this note as normal, and then I'm hammering on to the next note. And I try different ways of doing it, so I can do it quicker. And I'm not talking about doing it like that, I'm talking about the actual motion going from here to here. Because the quicker you do it, the kind of a sharper attack you're gonna get. What you want to avoid though is that when you hit this note, you don't want to push it harder than you need to. So whatever pressure you need to actually get to any of these notes, that's the pressure you want to apply, because the only thing applying more pressure to the note once you get to it is that you might push it out of tune, and that's not necessarily a sound you're going for. So then apply some vibrato as well, and that's where the phrasing aspect comes in, right? So if you would be playing a melody, you wouldn't just go straight like this, right? If it was part of a melody. And also, when you play a melody, it's kind of easy sometimes to just go, you just hit everything with the pick, but this will give you more nuance, even with distortion, or I would say even more so with distortion, because distortion can be very easy to remove all kind of dynamics with distortion, because we have inherent compression in the sound, right? So we really only have muted notes, normal picked notes, and then the legato note. And you can do slides as well, but that's part of the legato family. So just try that a few times. Another thing that you want to look out for here is that try to get as close to the fret as possible, because if you're here, you're gonna get a worse sound, clear sound here, right? So you don't need to do it, excessively. You just do it a few times and basically just listen. So it's more trying things and seeing what happens and listening to the results. It's quite a subtle thing, so that's why you kind of need to really listen in, and it's going to depend on your equipment as well and the sound you're playing with. But that doesn't matter. I mean, the sound you're playing with is the sound that you're playing with, so you need to experience this for yourself and then come to more of an informed decision of what you like. All right, so the next string. And you probably find when you get to the unwound strings that it's a completely different feel. And this might seem super obvious to some of you, but I bet there's a lot of people out there, I know I was one of them back in the day, that didn't really explore this that deeply initially and just wanted to go, you know, get it as fast as possible and just work on trills and all that stuff. So it's really worth sitting down and doing this work. And we're gonna try different fingers as well, not just these pentatonics, but that's a good place to start because we all know the scale, right? You do know the scale. If not, shut this video off and go learn it. So just try different speeds, like I said, and it's not gonna be a huge difference, but it's that subtle difference you're trying to tune into. And then, you know, what goes up needs to come down, right? So we're gonna do a pull off instead. Now you can get more tonal variety here actually, because you're not just lifting the finger, you're plucking the string, right? So if you see this, that's what a pull off is. I don't just want to lift the finger, I want to actually pluck it. And then you have more control over the dynamic. So you can really snap the string if you want. And then the first goal though should be to get 2 solid notes that stand on their own. So this note should not be super loud and then, you know, a very weak pulled off note, right? So, and that might happen, but that's why we're doing this. You can tune into that. Right, so just try it out, and if you get some ugly sound, that's fine, that's why you're doing it. So you can get a feel for what that feels like, and then you can avoid that in the future, or not. So once you've done that, the next step I think is to combine them. So you just go, so it's almost like a small melodic fragment, and we want to keep the same, so you only hit the first note. You don't need to slide into it, I just do it out of habit. And try different speeds as well, but it's all about getting these notes, you know, equal in volume, and this hammer-on and pull-off is going to give you a slightly different sound in terms of the phrasing. So you can go up like this, and then the next one, also you should do the opposite. And I think the best way to think about this as you do it is think of it as part of a melody, right? So let's say this, I know it's not going to be this grand melody, but when I talk about a melody here, it's just think of it as part of that and how you would like to phrase that. And of course you can apply this to any type of melody afterwards as well. So I think having that frame of mind is easier than just to think like, all right, hammer on and then pull off. Instead, try to think like, okay, if this was an actual melody, how would I like this to sound? And I don't really care much here about keeping a perfect, you know, the thumb behind the neck and all that stuff that I would if I'm playing faster lines. Because again, this is more like a phrasing tool. But this way of thinking and listening will still help you when you want to improve your, you know, your faster playing as well. So that's what I meant in the beginning here, that working on this will help your overall legato. But if you're wondering why my thumb is up here, I wouldn't necessarily have my thumb up here if I want to play faster stuff, especially stretchier stuff, because it's kind of hard to reach, right? But since I want to apply vibrato here as well, I tend to have my thumb up here. All right, so you do that first, and then try applying it to more notes. So if we turn this scale into, just that instead, so 3 notes per string. And whatever scale you're playing doesn't really matter. You can play whatever scale you want, but the overall idea here is the point. So then you can go, then maybe go, if you try to do legato for the whole phrase, and you can think of it as 2 strings at a time if you want, like that. Maybe go back from here. And then start adding, different jumps like I did here. Now that was a little bit faster, but it's still not that, that crazy fast, but it's just, so you can see that you can try different things and build it up to other things. But I think it all starts with this very controlled, the very controlled practice at first, and then you can start adding more notes. So I would not rush into adding a lot of notes. That's just something you can build up to. And obviously you want to try this all over the fretboard. So if we keep it to A minor pentatonic again, then we're up here, the 12th fret. So I'm back to doing that, very short melodic fragment of 3 notes. And you get the idea. So give this a try and try it all over the fretboard in different scales. But I would start with a pentatonic at first just to get into it. You just go hammer-ons first and then pull-offs. And really listen to what you're doing, because that's the key. Because if you just sit there and do, just flopping your fingers around, that's not going to help you very much. So I like doing this as a warm-up as well, just picking up the guitar. And I don't necessarily always go through it in a pentatonic fashion, but just something very simple and just connecting with the instrument. Where I'm not just trying to go for broke right away, right? For me, I found that that's a really good way to warm up. And then, I've spent maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes doing this. And I think that's probably the best way of applying this over time. Now, initially, it's a good idea to sit and spend some more time with this and, try to figure out what I mean by all this, because it's, like I said, it's very subtle. So you probably will hear it easier on your end as well, because, this just picked up by this little mic here. But once you've done that for a while, maybe you sit there for the first day and do it for half an hour or whatever, how much time you want to spend on it. But then if you just add it as a small part of your warm-up and it becomes this habit, it's really gonna change the way that different ways of playing a melody that you'll find that you have once you start getting into this. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, see you in the next lesson. Back in the day, I used to have real issues with fast alternate picking when it came to 2 notes per string. I was fine with 3 notes per string, but the 2 note per string thing was a bit harder to crack. So if you struggle with fast alternate picking as well and you don't know what to practice or for how long, I've created the perfect solution for you in the form of the Pentatonic Picking Power Book. So in this book you'll find a daily workout that will not only help your pentatonic picking, but will also upgrade your overall alternate picking technique. So it contains basically the same exercises I use myself to develop my picking abilities, as well as numerous students over the years that I've given the same exercise to with great results. So I know these exercises work as long as you put in the work. So it's not a quick solution or quick fix. It will still take a lot of work, but at least you have a very easy to follow routine. So if you're up for a big alternate picking upgrade in 2024, I cannot think of a better start.